Today on Detroit Muscle, Tommy adds a unique accent to Project Sydewinder, finishing out the Patina paint theme. Plus, the guys debate on how to label classic muscle cars.
Hey everybody, welcome to Detroit Muscle. Now you'll notice right off the bat we've got a couple of cars in here you've probably never seen before. This 69 Roadrunner convertible and a 71 Challenger RT. Now you Mopar guys, don't get too excited because these are not our new project cars, but they are going to be the topic of conversation later in the show. Trust me when I tell you, this is a debatable subject, even for the two of us.
Yeah, absolutely. This guy right here gets pretty worked up, and sometimes he's really passionate about it.
You could say that.
Well, the first thing that we're going to do is actually dive into our 81 Cobra project. Now, we're dangerously close to having it 100% finished up, but the next thing we're going to do is over in the booth. We got a paint project that we're wanting to do on our hood scoop. If you remember back, our Mustang came with a big Cobra decal, and we're wanting to replicate that. Our car also has that Patina paint job, so we're going to follow that theme with our artwork. We want to make sure our surface doesn't have any contaminants, so we'll give it a quick wipe down with some surface cleaner. Our hood scoop is made out of fiberglass, and oftentimes working with parts like that, static electricity can be a problem. And you'll notice that the dirt and debris will be drawn to it. So to help eliminate that issue is wipe it down with a tack cloth and then come back with a water and alcohol solution and spray it down. Now with it dry, let's lay down a couple of pieces of tape so we can mark the center of our hood scoop. Then we can add our graphic, line it up, tape it down. We got our decal lined up here on our hood, and I've noticed a problem. The sticker isn't laying down very flat with the curvature of the hood scoop. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut right across here, tape this side down, and then only apply one side at a time. I don't wanna mess up my sticker here, and I think this is a better way. And up here on the front where it curves off to the nose of the hood, I'm gonna make an incision so that decal will flip a lot easier. Time to start attaching our decal. I could use some help.
What are you doing?
The sticker's sticking. We gotta try to pull it out at once. Pull right here, pull that top.
Mm-hmm. This is a negative of the decal.
Oh yeah, don't worry, it'll be cool. Try to keep it tight.
Yep.
I got a special surprise for you, Mark.
Apparently. I like the design.
I think you'll be rather pleased. If you like the Patina paint we did, I think you'll really dig on this one. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Can't wait to see it.
I think I got this. Now all we're doing is making sure this decal is pushed down, and doesn't necessarily have to have all the air bubbles out of it, but you want all your seams to be pressed firmly against the surface. With it firmly pressed on, we can peel off the cover, scratch up the surface with a scuff pad, and give it another wipe down with our cleaner. Now we're ready for paint.
Don't go away. Tommy adds a cool effect to enhance Project Sidewinder's Patina paint job.
PowerNation is brought to you by Rock Auto.
Hey y'all, welcome back. I've got my colors that I'm gonna use to spray on our snake, but before we get to loading up the gun, y'all check out the new addition to our mixing room. We're running out of room in here, so we called up Col-Met spray booths and they solved our problem. They added an additional 10 feet for more supplies and equipment space. With their units being well designed and modular, upgrading was effortless. And they put in this cool hallway linking the mixing room to our paint booth here. What's nice about that is it helps to control dirt, debris, contamination, and vapors. Let's get started. We've got 3 colors that we're going to be using. We've got a medium orange, a red oxide, and a funky red. First one we're going to be applying is this orange color. I know that using an airbrush seems kind of slow and takes more time, but it saves me the hassle of taping each color we're going to use. It also gives me the ability to be a lot more intricate with my application of paint. Now I know you're probably sitting there going, man, that doesn't look that good. Well, by no means am I a pro with the airbrush, but I actually did this for a reason. Since we're going for that distressed patina look, you know paint deteriorates at different rates, leaving some areas thinner than others. With our orange dry, we can move on to the red oxide. We'll use the same method on this as we did before. All right, now it's time for us to apply our third color, and I know in the mixing cups it looked completely different than those other 2. What we're going to do is spray it here on the eyes and the fangs, and it's going to give us just a subtle difference. All right guys, now we're ready to add our true age look, and what we're going to be doing is spraying on this stuff, and it gives it a crackle look. Now the crackle look is like your lawn furniture that your old lady's been on you about redoing for the last 2 years, or maybe 5 years. We know how it goes. Now with this material, it's not really compatible with the paint that we sprayed on there, so you need to think of this effect as a decal. It's not going to live forever. We're going to apply our clear coat first. It helps with the movement of the crackle paint we're going to use. Now it's time for the crackle. This stuff sprays on and instantly starts adding that aged effect that I'm going after. That effect turned out killer. The last thing we're going to do is spray on a coat of Dupli-Color clear coat. This has a matte finish to it, and once it dries, we can unmask it and see what it's all going to look like. When unmasking something like this, and with it being painted just a few hours ago, you want to make sure to peel it nice and slow, because you don't want to tear or pull off all your hard work. Hey big man, I did some painting on your hood scoop and I hope you dig it.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm excited. Wow. Dude, that looks awesome. It looks like it's aged, like it's a sticker that's aged. Can I touch it?
Yeah, you can touch it. So I did all right?
Yeah. Is that 2 different colors under there? Or is that,
Yeah,
how'd you do that?
We actually used 3 different colors. Got the red, the orange, and I did something around the fangs, but you can't really tell it much, but that means you did it right.
So did you do different textures here on purpose, or did it just do that on its own?
I used a special coating to give it that crackle look on top.
Yeah.
But it broke different because of the surface area between the little stripes and the thicker stripes.
Wow. Yeah, I see it pulled here, so that was the paint you put on top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm amazed at how much it matches the red oxide.
Well, I kind of tweaked the colors to accommodate that.
That looks great, man. Now it's complete, right?
All we need is a couple drivers and a rider and we'll be ready to roll.
I'm ready.
Best thing about that in all reality, to me, is that effect only took a couple hours to do from start to finish. The whole effect. And that's a lot of bang for your buck, because a lot of times when you spend a couple hours doing something, you're like, yeah, that's okay. But
you just needed the stencil. That was the big one. That's cool. Love it. Fits the car perfect. You may remember a while back we talked about tires and how you can look at all of this information on the sidewalls and decode it. Now, a lot of that can be a little overwhelming, so we talked a little bit about some of it last time, including tread wear, traction, and temperature ratings. But one thing we didn't dive into, and that's the metric sizing. So we're going to do that right now. One common misconception with metric tire sizes is that the big number at the beginning of the size is the overall diameter of the tire, and it's actually not. For instance, this is a 245/45/18, and you would think that that tire would be shorter than this 285, and as you can see, it's definitely not, and that's because 245 is actually the width, 245 millimeters wide. And this one is 285 millimeters wide. And then the next number is going to be the aspect ratio. And what that is that's the actual height of the sidewall as a percentage of the overall width. So in other words, the sidewall of this tire is 45% of 245 millimeters. And over here, this one's 35% of 285 millimeters. One thing we haven't talked about yet is going to be the date code. Now, every single tire that's made has this DOT number stamped into it. Now, this helps identify when the tire was made, what run it was made in, who manufactured it, and all of that. Well, at the very end, those last 4 digits actually tell you the exact month that this tire was made. For instance, this tire was manufactured in the 34th week of 2018, and that applies to every new tire across the board. The next thing I want to do is compare these two tires. They are very similar. They're both Continental, and they're both from the Extreme Contact line. Except this one is called the DWS. That stands for dry, wet, snow. This is an all-season tire, so this is going to be good for year-round, especially if you live in a cold climate where it snows a lot. You want to maybe put this on your SUV, or if you've got a sports car that you're relying on as a daily driver, you need something like this. Now, it does have a tread wear rating of 560. It's going to last a little bit longer, but it could get noisy as time goes on, but not too bad because this is a really high-quality tire. The drawback to something like this, though, is on a dry day or during the summer, you're not going to get as good of traction as you would with this Extreme Contact Sport. This is an ultra high performance or UHP tire. So this is for your sports car or if you've got a performance SUV. And this is going to give you the best traction when it's dry out. It's not going to last as long, but if you want to have that spirited driving, this is the tire you want to go with. Well, hopefully that gets you up to speed on how to decode the sidewall of tires. Now, I know we didn't go into every single detail, but now you should have enough information to pick out the right set of tires for your ride.
Coming up, Mark and Tommy give their thoughts on how to label classic muscle cars.
Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Earlier we mentioned to you all that we were going to talk about a very controversial subject, and I'm not referring to Ford versus Chevy versus Mopar. What I'm actually talking about is the common terms and labels that are associated with older cars.
Yeah, we've heard them all. Barn find, survivor car, all original, rare, restored. Problem with these terms is that they're all open to interpretation. Your definition may be completely different than somebody else's. And that's to be expected because there are just too many variables to give each term a hard definition.
So let's use the term barn find as an example. A while back, we built a '72 Chevy that we called Barn Find Chevelle. We pulled this jewel out of a barn where it had been laying in its bed of rest for many, many years. It was covered in hay, dirt, and stuff we can't even mention. And after a bit of cleaning and a lot of work, we finally painted it a custom blue metal flake color with pearl white stripes. Installed a high horsepower supercharged small block, all new interior, and it turned out pretty sweet.
With that said, and it being all done, is that Chevelle still a barn find? And if we didn't tell you the backstory, you wouldn't even consider it one. So what constitutes a barn find? How long does it have to be sitting in a barn to be considered a true barn find? 5 years? 10 years? 20? What if it's not in a barn at all? What if it's in a shed or a carport? The term shed find just doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
That's what we're talking about. There's a lot of gray area. Attaching the term barn find to a car adds a sense of rarity, worth, or even a mystical feel like lost treasure. Plus, it sounds cool. That's why it gets tossed around so much and oftentimes abused.
Speaking of abused, take a look at this 1971 Dodge Challenger RT. You might call this thing a barn find by its appearance alone, but it's got more qualifications than that. We know this is the real deal because it was documented when it was pulled from its slumber just last summer. Not only that, it had been there since the late 70s. This bright red Mopar is a high-optioned RT model with the signature stripes, scoops in the hood, chrome on the nose, white vinyl top, luggage rack, Magnum wheels, and a not-so-popular engine option.
Standard on these cars was a 383 cubic inch big block, So someone had to skip all those cooler engine options, including the 446 pack, the 426 iconic Hemi, and check the box of this smaller 340.
So you're telling me this car had a better chance of being a big block and somebody picked the small block?
Yep.
I bet you that makes it pretty rare though, don't it?
Oh, Lord, that's another one of those questions.
Okay, but would you call this car a survivor?
Man, I'd have to think on that one for a minute. I don't know.
Stay with us as we finish our debate on classic muscle cars.
PowerNation is brought to you by Rock Auto.
Welcome back. We've been debating common labels that people like to slap on muscle cars, and our next term up for discussion is survivor car. The term survivor is kind of hard to define. I mean, think about it. If the car's still around, wouldn't it be considered a survivor?
Not exactly, and this term especially is open-ended and leaves a lot of room for interpretation. For example, these two cars, they both could be considered a survivor car, but by looks and condition, they're very far apart.
But this car in particular easily could be considered a great example of a survivor. This is a 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner convertible that looks restored, but it's actually an all-original time capsule. It's wearing the factory blue paint. The convertible top has never been changed. The brightwork is in immaculate condition. The interior has all the original upholstery with no signs of wear. And up under the hood, you can tell this ride has been unmolested. Of the over 80,000 Roadrunners that were built in 1969, only about 2,000 were convertibles. And ragtops don't normally stand the test of time. So, considering this car's 50 years old and being in the condition that it's in, there's no way that we can deny it the honor of being called a survivor.
Now, with all that out of the way, let's complicate things even more and take another look at this Challenger. Now, is it a barn find? Yes. Is it a survivor? Absolutely. But just like everything else in the world, condition is everything. If you were on the hunt for a barn find and you struck this thing, you just hit gold. If you were out looking for a survivor, well, this thing's a little bit rough. The vinyl top has rust under it with holes in the roof. The quarters have had some shoddy repairs in the past before it was parked. The trim and chrome are in very poor condition, and some is even missing. As for the interior, it's fallen apart, and mechanically, it needs some attention. But in spite of all those condition issues, this thing still has the goods. Does it have original paint and exterior? Almost 90%. What about the interior? All original. And the drivetrain? All OG.
Well, Tommy, are you comfortable enough with these terms yet to give them definitions?
Oh, I'm definitely comfortable enough to give you guys my opinion.
Okay, well, I know where this is going. All right, let's talk about barn finds. What does it take to be a barn find? Does it need to be a barn that it was found in?
Absolutely. It ain't nearly as cool if it's in a side shed or something like that. It needs to be in a barn.
For sure. Okay, then how long does it need to be there?
I'm gonna say probably 10 years or so. It's gotta be in there long enough to be forgotten about.
Okay, I'm gonna disagree with you there. I'm gonna say it needed to have been in the barn at least half of its life, and the car needs to be a minimum of 20 years old. So 10 years is fine, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, yeah, how about the condition?
That doesn't really matter because it's just gotta be in the barn and it's gotta be in there a while. Condition, it could be rough or pretty nice.
Yeah, and you look at this Challenger, it's in pretty rough shape. That makes it cool being that it is a barn find. Doesn't make it worth more though. That's all right. All right, let's talk about survivor cars. What does it take to be a survivor? It needs to be complete, right?
Yeah, it needs to have, you know, the drivetrain and that kind of stuff in it, but it could be missing, you know, a piece of trim or upholstery, something like that.
Again, back to the Challenger, it's missing a couple emblems, a couple of trim pieces. We'll give it a pass.
Yeah, but it has to have the original paint. It cannot have a repaint on the car.
Okay, how much of the original paint?
70-ish%.
75? You need to look at the car and go, that's original paint.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, I think we covered it. All right, well, we want to thank Ted Stevens and Stevens Performance for lending us these two cars. They're beautiful examples, and they gave us something cool to talk about.
I know you're a Mustang man, but you ought to go drive a good car.
Okay. Oh, wait. Oh,
It's the blue one.
yep. Probably more reliable.
Toot the horn, big man. We're all familiar with the feel and sound of a high-performance vehicle. Running through the gears is a whole lot of fun. But unwanted heat and noise, well, that can dampen your good times. DEI offers several products that combat those issues. Their Underhood thermoacoustic lining will reduce unpleasant temperatures and sounds that are generated from the engine compartment. Installation is super simple. Just peel the backing off and press it into place. They have direct fit kits for several makes and models. If you guys have any questions about what you've seen on today's show, go to PowerNationTV.com.